steps are cool at dawn. Olive leaves still hold the night. Smoke is curling slow and thin. Names I whisper to the light. Sing, oh, sing to the stones and sky. Let the old words rise. Let the old words rise.
So folkens, welcome back to another video. We are going to kind of start to get the change of plans. My idea was to continue the survival wars for now and then go back, but I decided to kind of just do some of the history chronologically. So today we are going to do a new YouTube channel. We are going to do extra history. The brothers Gracchi. This was a request from a very nice subscriber who taught me a lot about history recently. And yeah, I'm really curious to see, because apparently this is the grandchildren of Scipio Africanus. So I'm really curious to see. Extra history looks a lot like oversimplified, so it's pretty curious to see like the art style with animations and stuff. So I'm excited to see, like, is their sense of humor the same? I kind of hope not, but let's see. So yeah, let's begin.
The Republic is at a precipice. Elections are happening like nobody's ever seen. Demagogues preach the politics of violence in the streets. Vast amounts of foreign labor instill fear in the native workforce, and the rich sit simply consuming all they can.
This timeline, by the way, is around the end of the Third Macedonian War, if I'm not mistaken.
Blind to the poor masses that can only take so much before they break and overthrow them. All the while, the political elite is desperately trying to stop the very monster they created. But the political elite have gotten so stale, so tied to the interests of money, that they can't think to do anything but more of the same. The year is one...
Sounds very familiar. Okay, 121 BC.
121 BCE, and this is how republics fall.
America, take some notes.
But 121 BCE is a long way off yet, because to tell the tale of 121 BCE, we have to talk about the things that led up to it. To start with, we have to speak of the growth of Rome. For you would be hard-pressed to find a century more filled with war and expansion experienced by a single people. The 2nd century BCE was when the Roman Empire was won. From the dawn of the 2nd century to the 130s, the Romans smashed the Carthaginian Empire, taking back all of modern Spain and getting a foothold in North Africa. They fought the Macedonians and the Seleucids to attain total control of Greece. They threw back the Gauls and the Ligurians, finally conquering all of northern Italy. They captured the eastern coast of the Adriatic.
Or those in Illyria. Interesting. Didn't know that, but yeah, I also recently learned that like Spain was like slowly conquered, because I had an issue with like finding videos on like the full conquest of Spain, like the conquest of Greece as an example I just recently made. And kind of the same thing with like Pergamon. I was pretty curious about like the Pergamon thing, because they were allies with Rome. They were pretty good friends, honestly. And then it turns out like they kind of just inherited. That's pretty wild.
The Roman Republic more than doubled in size in a single generation. And all of this conquest was born on the backs of the veteran army, the citizen soldiers that fought the later Punic Wars. They conquered the globe for Rome, or at least what seemed like the globe to them.
Yeah, they fought a lot. We saw, I think it was the start of the Third Macedonian War, where the soldiers were kind of like on a strike because like they wanted better pay and stuff. They were like veterans from the Second Punic War. So yeah, a lot of soldiers fought like war back to back. It was pretty insane.
But what was their reward? What happened to them when they returned home?
Mm.
To answer that, we have to answer another question. What came from all these wars? What happened to the defeated peoples? Well, they were made slaves.
Yeah, I actually never thought about like what is the soldiers' pay, salary, and like how much does these wars gotta mess you up a lot. Like what happens to a soldier afterwards? Because like the benefits should be pretty great since Rome has such an easy time gathering soldiers.
Slaves and sold back in Roman markets. So Rome was now flooded with slaves.
Yeah.
As tribe after tribe, country after country fell before the victorious Roman armies, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people were sent back to Italy in chains. And this changed the economy of all of Rome. Where once the engine of production had been the small landholder, the family that farmed their own land, now wealth, unimaginable wealth, started to coalesce. Vast estates were gathered, worked solely by slaves. This new, cheap foreign labor completely displaced the blue-collar working citizens of Rome. And as this new, cheap labor flooded in, those that could afford to buy that labor needed even more land to put it to work on.
Yeah. I'm also curious, like Rome probably didn't have that many like options for jobs. Like, what did people who didn't have like how? Because like Rome was a huge population. Like, did Rome just did the government just give some food for free or something?
And how did they get that land? Well, remember that the Roman army had a property requirement to enlist. You had to be able to buy your own gear. Armor, helmet,
Really?
shield, pilum, and gladius. These were all paid for by the soldier who carried them. It was a mark of pride amongst Romans to be of the class that could afford to join the army. You might not be super rich, but you were doing well enough to do your duty for the state. And for a long time, this worked, because most of Rome's wars were fought in Italy, only going abroad
Yeah.
for brief campaigns, or in the most dire of emergencies, like that death struggle with Carthage.
Yeah,
But-
yeah. Carthage was the first sea war on sea with the first Punic War was the first war on sea with the Romans ever did. So yeah,
That was no longer the case. We looked at that map and we see a long campaign in Spain and Greece. These just weren't 6-month local affairs anymore.
no,
And those that served were often called up time and again for the nearly continuous wars that Rome found itself in. But you can't leave a farm unattended for years on end. And as these citizen soldiers marched across faraway plains, their farms lay fallow. And so, as they were out serving Rome, they went bankrupt. And even those who still had something to come home to found that they couldn't compete against the vast slave farms, and soon sold to the owners of the much larger estates, and were...
I thought if you were a rich landowner, and I guess they're not that rich, but like how expensive was a slave in like the Roman era, especially like in this period because there are so many slaves.
turned off their lands to be replaced by foreign slaves. And so the farms of the rich who stayed in Rome grew and grew with every war. Never before had Rome seen such a disparity in income. I mean, Rome had never been a place of equality, but outside the city, what might be called the middle class, the trade they had always practiced, was disappearing. But many of them never found work, or worked odd jobs that didn't fill their days. And
Okay.
this gave them time. Time to sit and stew. Time to be angry.
Ooh.
Time to be angry without even really being sure who they were angry at. Time to feel mistreated. And into this world, 2 boys are born. One named Tiberius, one named Gaius. They were born plebeians, but of the most notable heritage. Their father had been a consul, and their mother was the daughter of Scipio Africanus. Yes, that one. Tiberius was the elder by 10 years, more even in temperament, more measured in speech. It's him we'll follow first. Tiberius was born in the 160s. His father was a celebrated man, twice consul, twice given a triumph, hailed for his moral fiber. But his father was old when...
Wasn't it was it him that was? No, it's not him. I was thinking about Scipio's son. I think that was taken in. Was it the war against the Seleucids as a prisoner? Someone's son was taken. I don't think it was. Might not have been Scipio's, actually.
Tiberius was born, and died when the boy was somewhere between 10 and 15 years of age. Tiberius was raised in the Roman arts, rhetoric, philosophy, religion, and of course war. As soon as he was able, he became a military tribune, the first rank on the Roman political ladder, and he shipped off to serve with his half-brother, the famed Scipio Aemilianus, in the final and utter destruction of Rome's ancient enemy, Carthage. And of all Romans, according to legend, he was the first over the wall of that great city when it fell. And through the campaign, he learned much from his half-brother, modeling himself after the great general. He was hailed for his courage and loved by the men. Upon his return to Rome, he was elected quaestor, that second rank of the cursus honorum.
I'm excited to see what Oversimplified is going to say about Scipio's grandson.
The political circuit of Rome. As quaestor, he was sent to serve in the Numantian Wars, the fight to pacify Hispania. But he had the misfortune to serve under Gaius Mancinus, who led the legions to defeat after defeat. All the while, Tiberius, a man of sober disposition, maintained his respect for the general and for the authority of command. Then, in the dead of
So there was still a lot of nepotism in this period with generals.
night, after yet another defeat, the nerve of Gaius Mancinus broke, and he tried to have the army withdraw and abandon their camp. But the Numantians heard them, and were upon them like the wind. They were in the camp. They smashed through the rear guard, and drove the once proud legion onto impossible terrain. Mancinus, utterly defeated, sent envoys to treat for terms of surrender, but the envoys were rebuffed.
That's never happens with Rome, that they are the ones who are sending peace terms or surrender.
Numantians said they would speak to no man but Tiberius. They had heard of him, and they respected him, but more than that, they remembered the deeds of his father. For his father, too, had fought in these lands, winning great victories for Rome, and then always making sure that Rome abided by the terms of its peace.
Damn. Okay. That's pretty interesting.
While Gaius cowered, Tiberius met the Numantians. By the negotiation's end, Tiberius had secured the lives of 20,000 Roman citizens and all of those that attended them from becoming slaves or slaughter. And so the defeated army marched back to Rome. But back at Rome, he met his first taste of ingratitude and the dangers of Roman politics. For many among the elite were crying that the campaign was a disgrace, that by signing the peace treaty they had made Rome look weak, look like a loser, that Tiberius had bought his own safety with dishonorable surrender. But here he also met with his first taste of populism, for the families of those who he had saved cheered him. And so when the vote came to decide the fate of Tiberius and all the officers of the expedition, the people voted to see him saved. Only Gaius Mancinus would be handed over to the Numantians, naked and in chains. And though this victory surely had also to do with the intercession of his all-powerful brother-in-law's kingdom,
So we are in this grim politics with where he's a populist, but he's really he's extremely unpopular with the aristocrats, but he's popular with the people. I wonder which one is honestly the most important in this system.
Tiberius had learned the power of the people.
Because you can get elected by the people and the gratitude of the people, and the people love you. But in the Roman system, how much can you actually get done, and how safe are you without the elites?
A power he would soon put to use.
The people can easily be manipulated. All right. Thank you so much to Extra History. I will have a link down in the description to the original video. This was pretty interesting. For now, we have only really checked out like foreign policy with Rome, which was kind of a brilliant move from their part to like slowly dismantle these foreign entities over many years. But now we get to see like some domestic policy, and there it's not really the best. So yeah, I'm pretty curious to see what's going to happen. I really like this channel a lot. So yeah, let's see some more of it. It's pretty interesting. So yeah. See you guys.
Bare feet in the furrowed ground, dust on my tongue, heat bearing down, sun like a hammer on my back, name I was born with, they took that. But my chains float soft like water, running through this tired soul. You can bind my hands together, you can't cage what rivers know. Oh, I sing low, I sing stronger, till the night swallows the day. Yeah, you can claim this broken body, but you can't own the song I pray.